Well, hello and welcome back to another movie review from MBE, where we do discuss a lot of good, bad, retro and new blockbuster releases. Today we are going to be breaking down a very intriguing Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman number, Stephen, from all the way back in 1988. It is Die Hard, a movie which, for some reason, ungodly reason, I had not seen up until today, funnily enough.
Came out the year before you were born.
The year before I was born, and I've been hearing this back and forth argument over, is it a Christmas movie, is it not? I had heard of Hans Gruber, I do love Alan Rickman, but for some reason I never thought of actually going and watching one of his great antagonistic performances. Well, I righted that wrong, Stephen, and I'm extremely happy that I did.
I'm glad you did
that wrong, because look, it was absolutely magnificent. But look, we will get into it in more detail very, very soon. What was your initial thoughts on this movie before you went in and watched it? Because I know you were probably about 14 when this movie originally came out.
I was 12, John.
12,
but
sorry.
I was 14 when I saw the film.
My maths are absolutely shite.
Yeah, right, because
76.
it took me 2 years to get round to seeing this film. Not just because of obviously the rating it was given. I think it was given a 15. Yeah. I think it was. Might be wrong. It was either 15 or 18. I can't remember at the time.
Yeah,
obviously, it was an 18 at the time. So I shouldn't have been watching this till I don't know. My maths is terrible, but
94.
Until I was 18, yeah. So, but I did get to see this film in 1990 on VHS. My gran had a copy of this. My gran, yeah, she introduced me to Bruce Lee and
Pet Sematary.
Yeah, Pet Sematary, yeah, that's right. So, this time, this VHS cassette sat in her cabinet for ages before I get round to seeing it. Primarily because I wasn't a big fan of Bruce Willis. I only knew him from Moonlighting, which was a television show back in the mid-80s with Sybil Shepherd, I believe. And it wasn't my cup of tea. It was very 80s. It was just, cheesy, kind of humour. That's what I knew him for, and I just could not buy that this guy was going to be an action hero. I was a big fan of Stallone and Schwarzenegger at the time, maybe Van Damme to an extent as well, but I had no interest. I didn't know any of the cast, to be honest with you. I was going to pick out a few. Obviously Alan Rickman probably being the standout one. I didn't know who he was at the time. Since then I have obviously discovered this was his first sort of major breakthrough in film. Yeah, it's definitely in the US, because of his work on television and stage here in the UK, which I didn't know about either. I'm not going to pretend I did just because I'm from the UK. I never knew who this guy was.
I don't think many would have, Steve.
So it didn't really... I've watched this documentary on this film as well on Netflix. The films that made us or something, I think it's called, or the movies that made us. And there's a lot of things in there I could relate to. Obviously the casting of Bruce Willis being one of them was an issue for the makers as well. But once I did see it, not as long as yourself, John, but 2 years after the film's release, I was annoyed with myself for not seeing this film sooner, because you're right, it's an absolute amazing action film. It's not like the kind of action films that are made today. Since this film's release, there's been so many films that base their action films on Die Hard, whether it be Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on an aeroplane, Die Hard underwater, whatever we want, Die Hard in space, whatever.
Basically, Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson have based their entire careers to date on what Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman did in this movie. But
that was my introduction to the film, John. I didn't know too much about it. I knew it was an action film, that was about it, and there was some kind of heist going down. That was about as much as I knew.
And Steve, very intelligent the way that they actually did it. What was the studio you says that this was?
Fox.
Fox,
yeah.
And it was actually their headquarters that this tower, the Nagatomi, the tower which this was based in, was actually their headquarters, so they could keep it all in house. That kept the money down, I would imagine, budget stuff.
I would say so, yeah.
Although there was some really cool CGI practical stuff. Well, not CGI, practical effects, explosions and whatnot. Yeah. So it would have been expensive anyway. But you're right, I actually didn't know until today that this was Alan Rickman's first movie.
It's
feature movie. Yeah. He was more theatrical trained and doing shows and stage stuff and TV. So that's astonishing. A guy of his standing, this is where he got his break as an actor. And that really does show you how good this performance is as a result, because it was his first sort of stint in a theatrical or feature-length movie.
Yeah.
Just incredible performance. One of the great antagonistic names now, when you actually look back through the history of cinema. Hans Gruber's right up there. He's probably in most people's top 10. Certainly for me, having seen it, even before I knew of him. But Stephen, the introduction of this movie, it's a very intriguing introduction because it's quite slow to begin with.
Yeah.
We join John McClane on a plane. He's flying to LA. And the way he really does, the director, whose name completely eludes me,
John McTierney.
John McTierney, the way he establishes this guy's dysfunctional life, his family life. He's a New York copper, and his family are based in LA. I've says they were doing Marriage Story stuff 30 years in advance.
Yeah.
Because obviously that was famously Adam Driver, and obviously Scarlett Johansson. She moved to LA. He wanted to stay in New York. There was that strife, but no Hans Gruber, no action, no blood or death that I'm aware of. So that was very intriguing. It was an intelligent way to start this movie off. A movie which is very frenetic, balls to the wall action and just blood and everything, guts and a lot. To start it off quietly and establish a main protagonist, you bond to him in a way because you see his predicament. And he has chit chat with, I think it's a Guile, the limo driver. He's new to the job. What a first day in a job.
Yeah.
Wow, doesn't get any more eventful than that. And he's like joking with him, saying, "Oh, so you thought she'd come running back to you, but it's not worked out."
Yeah.
So it's just a beautiful. What did you make of that intro before we actually get into the action, which comes quickly afterwards?
It's important. I think there is a bit of dialogue, John. It has been a few years since I've seen it, but as I recall, I think there is a bit of dialogue between John McClane and Argyle in regards to, you know, his profession, and you know, he can't just drop everything. He's got a lot of you know, sort of loose ends he needs to tie up before he can even consider making the switch over to LA.
Yeah, 6-month backlog of scumbags I've got to look up.
That's it. Yeah, I knew there was something like that. You know, so it's I mean, it's just really sort of, you know, letting us know this guy isn't just a complete shit and he's trying to be awkward with his family and his wife. Yeah. You know, he's obviously got his commitments in his career, and this is obviously boiled over or brewed over, you know, in the marriage, and it's having a negative effect on his relationship with his wife. But I think
changed their name.
Well, that I was going to say that's a key, decision on her part, and obviously how the film and the story plays out with Hans Gruber, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself in this review, John, but that decision to put that in the film was quite clever, I felt, because it meant that there would not be a sort of there wouldn't be a bargaining tool early on in the film with John McClane, you know, having his wife as one of the hostages, and Hans Gruber being aware of that. Yeah. Even just the way that she placed the photograph, the family photograph, downwards as well. It's little subtle things like that. Yeah. It's very clever. It was clever decision making by John McTierney.
It really is. Stephen, look, I did say he establishes it beautifully, and you're right with the name thing. The way that he slides that in via a sort of bickering argument between McClane and his wife. I think she says, "I miss you." He replies with, "I guess you didn't miss my name though, except when you're signing checks." So it's beautiful, but it's paramount to later on in the movie when obviously Gruber and his gang are coming in, because as you did say, there would be emotional blackmail right from the get-go, and nothing that happens thereafter would have happened if that wasn't there. I think it's Gennaro or something she changes her name to. Yeah. But obviously after that we do get Mr. Gruber and the Germans, I'm going to say, coming in. Yeah. What a sequence this is, Stephen. Just everything about it. The score is ominous. I think it's a van, a truck and a car. They swerve into the parking lot. One goes down into the actual underground parking area. And these guys come out. It's Theo and the big tall blonde guy. I want to say, don't know if it's Heinrich or something. I can't recall his name. Or whether it's the brother that dies. Yeah. But they come in, and I've said feels like a sort of caricature pantomime 80s villain. You see them in all of these movies, like the type that are in RoboCop at the start, they're laughing their head off.
They're mouthy,
mouthy, and it's just over the top. But he's like the way he's reciting something from a basketball game. The guy shoots the receptionist or the security guard in the head, and then he's hacking, he's kicking things, and it's all very theatrical and a physical performance. It's like Jim Carrey-esque. Very interesting, but also Gruber comes in, his men part, and he walks like the divine messiah into shot right down the corridor. Big tall figure, menacing figure of Alan Rickman. Yeah. It's just a wonderful sequence. They're absolutely precise. It's like military precision. They're taking control. They've all got their jobs to do. They're getting down into basements and cutting things off. Yeah. It's just absolutely amazing the way it's shot, the cuts, and they're all moving about, taking control of his tower.
There's the bit with the brothers as well when they're down. I think they're sorting out the phone lines, etc. John, the cables, and one of them's doing all the sort of precise stuff. The one with the glasses,
Yes.
and the other one's not got the patience. He's ready to axe everything, and he's like frantically trying to place all these wires together to sort of. I think it's like
Heinrich.
it's like a bypass he's doing, with the electrics to make sure that nothing's out of sorts. Out with the
sweating,
Nakatomi.
and it's already you're
good.
tense because you see the beads of sweat going down his face. I think it was Fritz and Heinrich, or the brothers, I'm pretty sure. Fritz was the guy who went off and wanted to kill McLean afterwards. I'm pretty sure Heinrich made it.
I can't remember their names, John.
I don't know, I may have got them mixed up.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I do know that the one that survives, it was actually, I think it was a Russian ballet dancer. I think he passed away not long after this film,
That's
actually.
incredible.
I mean, he looked fine and fit, so I don't know what the reasons for that was, but he's just one of those guys that you just remember after all this time. He didn't really have a lot to do in terms of dialogue or...
Carol.
Yeah.
And
so, Heinrich. So Carol was the one that survived, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Alexander Goodenough.
Yeah, he just had a presence about him, and he was a good sort of henchman to Hans Gruber as well. He just kind of played off him very well, where you've got Hans being the sort of calm, composed one, very calculated, and you've got him, Carol being the sort of more muscle, in the team, who's got... I think that was the point of that scene with the cable cutting. It was to show his impatience, He wants to get the job done in and out as soon as possible.
And it shows you there's different sort of figures within this terrorist group. I'm going to call them terrorists, but they aren't really.
No, they're
Banded,
robbers.
they're sort of branded terrorists, but they're not. I think it was actually Fritz, incidentally, in Carol, not Heinrich, because Fritz has got long blonde hair and he's headshot on IMDb. He was the guy with the glasses, I want to say, wearing the joggies or joggers, bizarrely with that sort of jumper. He gets discarded with in short order. But Stephen Gruber introduces himself, I've says afterwards. It's just absolutely momentous, really. The guy just commands. You can see that theatrical training within him.
Yep.
It's like what we were speaking about yesterday with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. He comes into the room, just takes over the room immediately. I think he says something there. I'll try and find the actual quote.
Yeah, he's reading
something
from
about Nagatoma.
Yeah.
They've been cheating the world. Now they're going to pay. You're going to see vengeance or something. I can't recall. I've not got the exact quote in front of me, but it's magnificent.
Yeah.
And he says they're all going to be witnesses. And again, this is just establishing this guy. He's very intelligent. Afterwards, I think he goes round all of the main leaders of Nakatomi. I can't get that name. Nakatomi. I'm saying it completely wrong. And he takes them all out one by one. I think he picks out the older guy who's in charge of it all. And he's reciting things to him. He's talking about his suit and whatnot, and he's talking about Alexander the Great. He's saying a speech about him. He's looked at the breadth of his conquers and he's disappointed because he's got nothing else to do. Again, highly paraphrasing here, but just a magnificent character, and immediately he just steps in and just absolutely, he's under control.
Yeah.
And that's down to Alan Rickman. He's just a superb actor. The first time I seen this guy was in Sense and Sensibility, which is wrong. But again, he's magnificent in that, and he's had such a storied career. It's hard to believe he's been away nearly 4 years. Also Snape's the other one, but Gruber.
I was pretty shocked when he passed away, to be honest with you, John. But you're right. I mean, when you look at his sort of background in theatre, in stage and obviously his television work, which would have predominantly been drama and television, not comedy or action or anything like that. He's more suited to the likes of Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen work, if you like. Rather than an action film like this. It's very interesting to find out how his agent convinced him to do this film as well. Now, you got to remember, obviously, he's probably tried to break into the US, make a name for himself. But I think what happened afterwards was that there was probably a little bit of an issue with him playing this role so well that typecast creeps into it, and he becomes the villain. Gary Oldman was a villain for so long before he would play a good guy. I remember that well. Kevin Bacon to an extent as well. Obviously he did Footloose and stuff like that, his early stuff, but there was a period where he just couldn't shift away from being the villain. And Alan Rickman Alan Rickman certainly fell into that category for a while as well, and I think that probably did concern him a bit. I think that's why he took on roles like that film I was talking about. I can't remember, the alien one.
Oh, Galaxy
Quest, yeah, and roles like that, and obviously his role, in the franchise Harry Potter as well.
Yeah.
So
he was a nuanced villain, though.
Yeah,
he was a villain for so much of the franchise, and then there was a twist, and you seen humanity within him. So that was a beautiful character. That. But Stephen, the quote was actually due to Nakatomi's and the legacy of greed. They're about to be taught a real lesson. You will be witness. He's talking about just classical education and whatnot. He's such a nuanced antagonist. This is the type of antagonist you don't see in an action movie now, a modern day action movie. It actually says that to you. This is like just probably the epitome of that era of action movies in the 80s.
I think so, yeah.
Where it was action, there was levels to the action, there was intelligence within an intelligent storyline. It was linear but intelligent.
Yeah, it wasn't just blown up stuff.
Yeah, great character building within. It's not just superficial, wow, big CGI effects, blowing things up and whatnot, as you did say. And that's just down to a guy like this coming in and bringing that theatrical acting experience in. Obviously McLaughlin is running about, scampering all over the place at this point, trying to avoid. He's seen one of them getting killed, one of them being Nagatomi guys. I keep saying the name wrong, doesn't even matter. And then he's up in these unfinished levels, and he's almost like a William Wallace type figure. I want to say, we're Scottish. Comes to my mind right away when I think of guerrilla warfare. He's leading a guerrilla warfare campaign against the Gruber consortium, I'm going to say, terrorist group, whatever, and killing them off one by one. He starts with the big brother guy, although his shoes are the size of, are smaller than his sisters. I think he says, out of 9 million terrorists, I have to kill the one guy who's got shoes smaller than my sister. Takes him out, it's a bit of to and fro, and he's saying, look, I won't hurt you, come out and join the rest, it'll all be alright. I think he ends up breaking his neck or whatever. And then he writes something in blood, I want to say, saying, I've got his machine gun.
Ho, 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 yeah.
Ho, 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 yeah. Incidentally, this is absolutely a Christmas movie. There is no debate. I've seen it. It is a Christmas movie.
Ask me that question at the end of this review, John, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. But you're absolutely right. Just Hans Gruber's sort of introduction, his entrance to the hostages as well, the way he walks in, very calm. And I think he's reading off, I think that's what he's reading his speech off. It's like a book or something like that. The way he delivers it, you can tell he's a theatre guy. But you're right, John McClane, he's up so many floors. He's just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and it really is a bit of a, I don't want to say a cat and mouse game, because it's very, when you think about it, it takes a hell of a long time before McClane and Gruber actually come face to face with each other, which we'll obviously get into about that accent, but it's really just the banter between both of them for, the biggest majority of the film over CB radio is so quotable now. A film that's over 30 years old.
I've got about 30 quotes here.
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
I hope you do read them out. But
I'll try.
There is something I do want to go back to, John, before we move on to the next section of the. I was watching that documentary, as I did say earlier today, at the time of recording of this. Just to sort of get myself into the the frame of mind, because I didn't really want to watch the film again, because I've seen it over 100 times. I don't really have to go and see the film again. It's etched in my mind. But there was a few things that sort of stood out to me in this documentary that I didn't know about. Now I'm going to go back to 1968 about a film called The Detective. Frank Sinatra played Detective Joe Leyland from the novel The Detective by Roderick Thorpe. Thorpe wrote a sequel called Nothing Lasts Forever, in which Leyland is trapped in a Clarkson Oil Corporation skyscraper after it's taken by German terrorists, and must rescue his daughter and grandchildren. 20 years later, the novel was filmed with some changes. The daughter became his wife, Clarkson became the Nakatomi Corporation, and Joe Leyland's name was changed to John McClane. The film was released under the title Die Hard 1988 because of the clause in Sinatra's contract for The Detective, which gave him the legal right to reprise his role in a sequel.
73.
He was actually the first person offered the McClane role, even though he was 73 years old at the time. That absolutely stunned me.
A 73-year-old lift-wearing Frank Sinatra trying to do John McClane's.
Thankfully, Frank Sinatra actually went back to the producers and passed on it, basically saying he's too old for action films and he's too rich, so he doesn't need it.
Stephen,
I'm so glad.
That sounds like a plot of a Quentin Tarantino movie where it's an alternative history.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see that as his final movie and get off and
amazing,
recreating another Die Hard, where it's actually a double for Frank Sinatra coming in and assuming the role of John McClane. It would be terrible.
The other things I picked up from this documentary, John, it's I would highly recommend watching it.
Yeah.
On Netflix, is that although the film was based on a novel by I think it was Roderick Thorpe, called Nothing Lasts Forever. A screenwriter had to rewrite the story because there was a few things that they weren't happy about in the actual novel, and his version didn't have the humour in it. Now, this is one of the things we'll talk about, obviously, in the review. It was then passed to another screenwriter who could add some funny lines in there, some funny scenarios as well. And also John McTierney, he didn't want, he wouldn't be pleased with you, John, because you keep saying this, he didn't want Hans Gruber and his gang being referred to as terrorists. That's why the heist was kind of put in there, last minute as well, because he wanted them to have a reason for being in this building. He wanted them to, not be two-dimensional villains in the film. There was obviously a reason for what they were doing. The whole stalling and who Hans Gruber wanted to release from certain prisons and stuff like that was just a stalling tactic while they worked out how to get through those vaults.
And that quote was incredible, incidentally.
Yeah, it was amazing, John.
It was an amazing quote, obviously, about who he wanted released. But we'll get into that shortly. I'm absolutely sure I'm trying to go through all these quotes. I have so many. Yeah. I just couldn't help myself writing these quotes down.
I would say them all tonight then.
Yeah, because they're absolutely fantastic.
They are. They're gold. They're absolute gold.
And that's, again, comes down to the writing of... was it McTierney who helped write it, as you did say?
Well, he directed, John, but there was a combination between him and, I think it was maybe two script writers as well.
Yeah. So the writing's off the charts. And again, that's something you don't get. I don't feel in a modern-day action movie. It's missing that nuance in the writing and in the character building and whatnot. This is something I love about these 80s action movies. Some of them are ridiculous, balls to the wall, just absolutely crazy, but there's a degree of things going on under the surface which I do like. It's almost like action versions of Pixar, what they do with their animated movies. Stephen, obviously, I mean, at this point the police are just so reluctant to come out to this building, despite the fact he's getting shot at over the walkie-talkie or the radio. They just do not want to come and get their hands dirty. Obviously, I think it's your man, I'm trying to find his name just now, Powell, played by Reginald Vell Johnson, who I thought was just a terrible actor, but we'll get into that shortly.
I actually don't mind him, not as an actor, John, but he comes across as a nice guy because he plays a similar sort of version of himself in Crocodile Dundee as well, where he's a limo driver, but he's got a kind of calm presence about him, and he seems to be the voice of reason. Some of his delivery is typical 80s sort of sort of side characters, where they're just thinking, settle down, son, but listen,
that's exactly what he was, Stephen.
His purpose in the film was his communication. That was the communication for the outside world for John McClane. Obviously, the whole backstory of him not, why he's a desk sort of copper and stuff like that. Police officer, there is that in there, but it wasn't really needed, to be honest with you.
No, more Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
And more Carol and whatnot.
Yeah.
Stephen, you're right, he was a sort of voice of reason, the rational voice down on the ground outside this building. It kind of slowed it down because it was a very frenetic movie.
Yeah.
Those little conversations sort of help buoy the movie slightly during some of the quicker moments. But obviously, I mean, he comes out and he investigates and he's just not having it. He goes in and obviously that guy's watching a Notre Dame game or something on his security thing. Right. One of Gruber's men. He has a look about, he goes out and obviously McLane's absolutely crestfallen. He can't believe that he's just not getting this to the police and they're just not understanding what's going on. I think he flings one of the guys down and he lands on the car. All hell breaks loose. That brings the police in, that annoying chief
Paul Gleason.
He's just a shithead.
He's a great guy though, John. I remember him. He was
the character, not the actor.
Yeah, he was the principal in The Breakfast Club. And it basically he just plays the same guy every film that he's in that I've seen anyway. He plays Dwayne T. Robinson. That's obviously the police chief, but you're right, he's a bit of an ignoramus. He wants to call the shots. He wants to make sure that Sergeant Powell knows who he is, and don't step out of line with me.
And he'll know about him
know your
shooting a young
station.
kid as well, so he'll be aware of
I
his
think
history.
so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's obviously adding that dynamic. He's like, this guy can't be trusted. The last time he pulled his gun out and he was in a high pressure situation, he's killed a minor.
Yeah.
So there's obviously that sort of grating between the two. But Stephen, obviously at this point there is all hell breaking loose. Whilst they are bickering outside and there's communications between McLean and Powell, Gruber's, I think they're sending in a SWAT team. They're just not grasping that they are absolutely armed to their teeth with everything really. They've got rocket launchers a lot. They bring in a Humvee or something like that, or an armoured car. Theo's doing his, like, I don't know what you'd call it, but he's overseeing things through the security panels and whatnot and relaying information. They're just wrecking the police.
Yep.
And then McLean uses, I think, some of the C4 he took from one of the guys he's felled. Incidentally, he did kill other people prior to that too. I think it was 2 other people died. And obviously they're starting to lose their shit. And Gruber's becoming annoyed by this guy, this security guard, unknown, upstairs, who's just wrecking his men. But they're blowing things up left, right and centre. McLean obviously throws the C4 down that shaft and absolutely destroys that whole floor. It was just a magnificent scene. The explosions, obviously practical, it had to be. There's no way that was CG. They didn't have that level of CG back then, I don't think.
No.
I mean, I've watched some 80s movies and some of the CG leaves a lot. I mean, it's just
Stop
terrible.
motion,
Yeah, well, yeah. Obviously, we've seen Star Wars and whatnot, and that doesn't age well.
No.
But Stephen, what was your thoughts on that? What was your thoughts on the blend of stuff going on in this movie as a whole? Because again, there's little lines, Geronimo, Mother Effer, get in there, it lightens the tone. There's great humour, there's just great tension, dialogue, action, violence, everything blended into a great melting pot in this movie. And this is early on, this is only about 40 minutes into the movie. You've already got all of these things coming together. What was your thoughts on that big sort of explosion? And then obviously the men getting up and chasing him as well. I don't know if that was before or after, but obviously he's landing down on lift shafts and whatnot and missing.
It's a bit sketchy, John, as I recall, but it's roughly round about that. That's kind of triggered it. That's what kind of notifies them, that John McClane's not just some businessman that's in the building. He's a copper, but they don't know that yet. But they will have an idea. This is not a regular Joe. This guy's
out with machine guns.
He seems to know his way around C4 as well. He knows how to handle it. He knows what kind of effect it will have throwing that down a lift shaft. Clearly,
It's when he says "oh shit" when the backdraft comes up.
And the fact you mentioned as well about the gun, ho ho ho. That's troubling for them. But John McClane is one of these guys, and you'll find this out if you actually go and watch the rest of the franchise. Maybe not 5. I've probably not watched that, John. But there's a line in the second film. John Amos says, "You're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time." And basically he says that's the story of my life, and that's referring to this film because he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Comes to a Christmas party expecting to hook up with his wife and have a good time, some drinks, meet his children, and he gets embroiled with sort of nonsense like this.
I expect the action because it's an action film. That's what I want. That's why I'm out to watch this film. But what I always go back to in this film is the banter, and it's the dialogue between obviously Bruce Willis, and
Hans Gruber.
Alan Rickman. I nearly forgot his name there. But there's something about those two. Clearly, they've had different backgrounds, in their careers leading up to this point. But for some reason, they seem to be on the same wavelength in this film. I don't think Bruce Willis is a classically trained actor. He's kind of a comedy sort of soap actor / singer at this stage in his career. Alan Rickman, on the other hand, came from stage. He's a gentleman, from England. He's got a totally different background. He had to be trained in how to handle the arms as well. I think one of the people that was sort of training was saying he was very limp-wristed and holding the gun. He just didn't have the experience. I'm not saying Bruce Willis at this stage had the experience either, but
he's a big guy though.
Yeah, exactly. And he's more rough and tumble than the English gent. But there's just something about they were on the same wavelength in this film. That's the thing that always attracts me back to this film, was these two actors and their characters and just this sort of banter going back and forth between them on the CBs. That's what stands out to me. You know, apart from obviously the obvious action stuff, Bonnie Bedelia, I think that was her name, who plays his wife. She's a fantastic actor as well. She doesn't really have a lot to do in this film, but every scene that she's in, she just, like Rickman, she owns the scene that she's in, and she doesn't seem to be the damsel in distress in this film. Maybe up to the last sort of sequence where she's got the gun at her head, which she can't really do a lot about. But at no point when she's
and he recognises it as well, Gruber.
Yeah, she doesn't seem too intimidated by him, you know, when they're having their sort of dialogue between them. But I just felt that banter more than anything, just the sort of dialogue. I mean, obviously the script writers have got to take a lot of credit for this film. Certainly the rewrites and stuff like that for a lot of the humour in there. It releases a lot of the tension in the film as well, and I think that's one of the key things to the film that keeps it interesting and keeps it fresh after all these years for its rewatchability, is obviously the humour in it.
Stephen, it would have been too dark without that humour. I mean, there's a line here that I've got: just another American who saw too much TV shows as a child, another author of a bankrupt culture that thinks he's John Wayne or Rambo. Do you think you have a chance against us? And McLean retorts with something witty. Actually, I thought myself as more of something like this.
Yeah, Roy Rogers,
Yeah, there's little lines like that back and forth. It just make the movie pop, and that's what differentiates it. Probably why it is such a... I don't want to say it's a cult hit, but it's why it's such a successful, and it does get rewatched every Christmas, seemingly by a lot of people, and it's down to that very reason, that the dialogue and the banter and the chemistry between all of the actors. You're right as well. Ellis... We didn't speak about Ellis. He meets his end shortly after that moment with the Geronimo, Mother Ethel and the C4 going down the shaft. Yeah. He thinks he can act as a go-between. He's becoming impatient with McLean screwing things up and not just allowing Gruber and his men to get in what they want for and then get back out. And he goes in between.
Yeah, Hart Bochner. You know, he is good in this film, John, in the right way. You know, but the character is an annoyance. Very smug. I think he's going on about bragging about show him the present I got you. You know, I think it's a Rolex or something. And he's
sniffing like it.
I was going to say it's so obvious he's a coke kid, you know. But it's something about that. He's a typical 80s yuppie as well, isn't he? Just the look of him, you know. And he thinks he can get in there and negotiate with this guy. I think he says something like...
He sounds like a Brooklyn type guy as well. He doesn't sound like an LA type person.
There is a line in there where he thinks he's on the sort of same level playing field as Hans Gruber. He says,
you know, I use a pen, you use a gun.
Yeah, that's a line. You know,
I'll be
your
white knight.
You're out your depth, pal, and you're going to find out you're out your depth, you know.
And also he's speaking to McLean on the radio, and he's telling him, look, you don't know what you're dealing with here. This guy will kill you. Yep. And he's sort of like, come on, you're my old pal, you know, we've known each other for years. How can you say this
after all these years?
Yeah, McLean buckers off, and that's the death knell.
Yeah.
Because Gruber's expecting results, and then when he hears nothing, he just puts a bullet. You hear the bullet going into him. You don't actually see it.
No.
And that's the end for poor old Ellis. But look, he was a bit of a DICK, as I says in the notes. Bit of a Billy Big Boss, as we say here. And he gets shot dead, and that's just him done. And again, it shows you the ruthlessness of Gruber, because at certain points he can become funny and you can connect with him too much. And then you realise he shot the head of Nagatomi, and then he's now just shot Ellis. So there is that ruthless side to this guy. He's in to do what he wants and then get out, no matter what, no matter the casualties and whatnot. But then you do see elements of him as well, where he's speaking to McLean's wife, whose name completely eludes me, and she's requesting
Holly,
a sofa for a pregnant employee and whatnot. Can I move her into a room? He's like, no, but I'll bring the sofa out. So you can see there's
room for negotiating.
He's I don't want to say he's a decent guy, but he's certainly got degrees within him that he can
I think what he's thinking, John, is there he doesn't need any more distraction. He's got enough with McLean. He doesn't need a pregnant woman going into labour or anything like that. Just listen, this is the best I'll do for you. Just give me peace, because I've got stuff to do. I think that was the sort of situation.
Yeah, then, and Stephen, you speak about humour in this movie. You've got Gruber mouthing off his fake demands. The FBI at this point are involved.
Yeah.
And he realises he has to appease them some way and make it look as though they are sort of terrorists that are looking for ransoms or whatnot.
Yeah.
And he's rhyming off all of these different things. He's talking about the American State Department, sabre rattling for its own ends. Now it can rattle for me. He needs people released in Northern Ireland, 7 members of the New Provo Front in Sri Lanka, 9 members of the Asian Dawn. You've got that other blonde guy, Carol. He's looking, and whispering Asian Dawn. He says, "Yeah, I read it in Time magazine."
Yeah.
It's just great humour.
Yeah.
And again, the characters are bouncing off each other.
They knew at some point they'd have to deal with the FBI, John. So
Yeah.
they knew that they have to up the stakes in regards to how they're portrayed to the outside world and what they're doing in there.
Yeah.
Because once the FBI are involved and they're making all these big claims, it's a stalling tactic. That's clearly
So
what
the whole
it
movie is
is.
stalling,
Obviously,
yeah.
the Johnsons don't know. That's the FBI agents. It's Big Johnson, Little Johnson, who. That's a running joke in the Die Hard series that you'll find out in Die Hard 4.0, where there's another couple of, I don't know, I think there's one agent in Die Hard 4 from 2007 called Johnson.
Yeah.
It's just a little running joke, but
Yeah, they were crazy. They
Yeah.
put me in mind of McGuinness, or Paddy Guinness. Paddy Considine, sorry, not Guinness. I'm thinking about the blind date guy or whatever. It's not him. Paddy Considine and Hot Fuzz, the two detectives. That sort of the way they were bouncing off each other and bickering. And I think he's talking about, this reminds me of Nam. He's like, no, I was in junior high. I'm not even remotely connected.
that was Robert Davey played the Big Johnson. He was one of the villains in the Goonies. I don't know if you recall.
I don't recall the Goonies.
He's a great
That's
actor.
another one I need to watch.
Yeah.
Stephen, I mean, after this we get a moment which I was in absolute tears laughing at, I have to say. They're bringing in an expert on hostage situations. I think he's saying terrorism, hostages,
This is the TV, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the TV. And already these hostages will be experiencing the Helsinki syndrome or something. And the guy, one of the anchors, says, that's Helsinki, Sweden. And he says, no, Finland. It's just eating him up.
Yeah.
It pans on him through one of the viewfinders in the camera, and he's just not letting it go. He's dying inside. I was just crying with laughter.
John, we've
at
been
that.
there.
I really was.
We've
We have been there.
Yeah.
Many, many times. I'm probably there just now because of Colin Paddy Considine Guinness.
Fair play.
It's an absolute joke. But Stephen, after this, obviously Gruber, he's getting fed up with McLean. He comes up to one of the top levels. I think he's hanging around trying to see what's going on, and he encounters McLean, and he tries to play himself off as a hostage. Oh my God, you're one of them.
You're one of them.
Please, you're one of them.
Yeah.
And he has to think on his feet. He's been questioned by McLean, and again you see the ingenuity and the intellect of this guy. He's just a great villain. He's obviously spotted the name board.
Yep.
He's picked out one of the names, Bill Clay.
Yep.
But you picked up on it. He doesn't want to say William Clay because he is German, and they do say William.
Yeah.
So they'll have difficulty pronouncing that W. So again, he's on his foot.
His observation
thinking,
as well, John, with the barefooted John McClane as well.
Yeah.
He saw what his weakness would be as well.
Yeah, so. Later on that next scene with the glass, shoot the glass again. He's a step ahead.
Yeah.
Just a very smart guy indeed. Stephen, what did you make about Rickman? I mean, also we've waxed lyrically about this guy's performance. He's a clear standout in this movie. I mean, he is. Yeah. He makes the movie for me. It's just a great, multi-layered, grey villain, not black or white. You can understand his reasonings. He's just out there to try and get these bonds and get to hell.
Yeah.
That's it. He's a greedy shit.
Yep.
No more, no less. That's what his reasonings are. But what did you make about the American accent? We need to get into it, man. Shocking, not even remotely convincing. I've says here, it's like Inception shit going on here. We've got an Englishman playing a German, kidding on he's an American. It's like Robert De Niro in Tropic Thunder. He's a Swedish or an Australian actor playing an African American.
Yeah.
But there's something else going on.
You do have to remember that, John. You know that it's a German. You know, within the film, he's German. We don't have to worry about the Englishman, but because Alan Rickman plays such a great German anyway.
He does.
So it's a German try to sound, you know, the dialect, you know, of the English, language. Some words are very hard to pronounce for Germans and vice versa, you know. So his accent, I would say it's bad, you know, but it's not as bad as Martin Freeman's American accent.
Not a chance.
You know, or perhaps John Hanna's Canadian accent in The Hurricane.
Any accent?
Yeah, well, he doesn't bother. He's like Liam Neeson. He just does what he wants. But there's something comedic about it, you know. But you got to not take yourself out of that moment. You know, it's not supposed to be played as comedy, although it unintentionally is, because it's important that John McClane doesn't suspect that he is who he is. Although
until the guys come up in the elevator.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
again playing for time.
Yeah.
Stephen, I really like the German in this movie. I've since heard that it's not that accurate.
No.
There's a lot of schnells and Beiter.
It's very broken, John.
Yeah, Beiter and schnell, Beiter, nein.
I did read, they weren't that concerned on getting German actors in to play these roles. They were more concerned about the sort of physical presence in the film and ensure that they were over 6 foot tall. So I think that's why a lot of the sort of dialogue is broken.
Yeah, very tall country. I mean, they're like 5'11" on average, so they're very, very tall. So yeah, I think it did a great job though, Stephen. Even though it wasn't accurate, to use German accents throughout, it created a disconnect between the antagonists and the protagonists. They can't really understand them. These are foreigners coming in and they're up to no good, essentially. Yeah. For the American audiences, they don't like the Germans. And the English don't like the Germans either. I have no issues with them. No. Actually, I love Germany. I think it's a great country. But I like that disconnect. That's something that's not done enough in movies. Often, I was watching The Last Crusade today as well. Yeah. That's a movie it doesn't even try to put on. Well, they do a German accent, but they don't even try to speak German. And it's Nazis and we're going to Berlin. So it wasn't necessary in that movie. I'm not down in
Germans speaking English to other Germans.
Yeah, it's very and talking about what they're going to do with this book in front of people who speak English, saying it in English, it makes no sense. You're telling them all your plan. You can just speak German and they won't understand you. But to do that great in this, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Also, they come up, there's a shootout, he runs off, as you did say, there's glass involved, a very painful scene. Where he's bonding with Paul again. They're speaking about what happened. Does he get children? Why is he not holding a firearm and whatnot? Why is he not moved up from a desk job or something like that? Yeah. He's pulling the glass out. It looks painful as hell. This guy's going through the absolute wars. He doesn't feel like he's going to get out of it. He's trying to relay messages to his wife and whatnot.
That vest he had, I was convinced it was white at the start of the film, wasn't it?
It was white. Yeah. I think he switched it up. It was
it's
just
grey by the end,
Yeah, I think it may be just one sweater and grime it's on it, I don't know. But also the FBI are involved as well, Stephen. There's a whole lot of shenanigans going on. We've got Gruber and Cole going back down. They're trying to get this. That's something that's running throughout as well. Theo's working away 2.5 hours. And I liked that it was almost within time of the running time. It says it'll be 2 to 2.5 hours to open up all of these security locks. I checked it. It shows you a little progress. I think they've done 1, 2, 3, and it's roughly about an hour's past at the hour mark.
One of the things John McTierney, I think one of the things that he made sure when he was taking this film on, that it was all going to happen over the one night. Yeah. Not over a series. I think at one point there was they were considering maybe over 3 nights or something like that. But I'm glad the way they did it. I think it kind of added the sort of intensity to the situation. And I suppose, if you're doing a heist and it's going to take you 3 days, you're not very good at doing heists.
Exactly. And as he does say, there's a great quote from him again, which I will try and find. It's one of the last ones I wrote down, where she's saying to him all those speeches, and you're essentially just a robber now. And he says something, I'm trying to find it. No, you're essentially just a thief. I'm an exceptional thief. And since I'm moving up to kidnapping, you may want to be more polite, something along those lines. So again, great dialogue, man. Yeah. But also the FBI come in, they throw a spanner in the works because they can't get this final security door opened unless something happens with power or whatnot. Yeah. They decide they want to shut down all of the power. The 2 Johnsons are shouting at this electricity worker, you're losing your job if you don't do it. Yeah. That allows them in. Ode to Joy, I want to say, is the song, or Ode to Joy. Yeah. It's all the way through. You hear it at the start when Gruber's coming into the building, he's whistling it, and then it's full on sort of operatic version of it. When the door opens up, it's almost like Pulp Fiction, what's going on in this briefcase. They're just transfixed by what's inside the room. They've finally got to what they wanted to get to in this building. Through all these trials and tribulations, men dying, security processes, the computer, they get their hands on the bonds, but it's not to be for poor old Gruber, because obviously McLean has other things in mind. But what did you make about just everything that happened that I was speaking about there? Glass and whatnot, Powell, Gruber getting into this room, obviously the detonators up the top and whatnot, the FBI, helicopters, big explosions, everything going on.
And the FBI think at this point McLean's still the bad guy. Yeah, although
shooting at him on the roof.
Despite what obviously Sergeant Powell's telling him, he's the good guy. He's our sort of insider. Letting us know exactly what's going on. But I liked the stuff on the roof. The explosion was practical. I think it was actually scale model of the building and a model helicopter. But there's something about that that leap of faith from John McClane with the hose round his waist. You know, it's one of those classic good situation turns into a bad situation, turns into a good situation. You get him, good, you know, die. Good. I'm getting off the roof. Oh no, I can't break the glass. Oh good, I've got a gun, I can shoot the glass. Oh bad, the hose is now going to pull me down anyway, you know, and he releases it. It's one of those ones. It's a great sequence, John.
Yeah.
And the way it was shot as well, you know, considering they weren't dealing with CG or anything like that at this time, I thought it was shot brilliantly. I thought the explosion on the roof was fantastic. I thought the jump from Bruce Willis as well, it's quite iconic now.
Yeah,
you know, you're seeing a lot of sort of promotion and trailers and stuff like that for action films, you know, and the shot's been recreated so many times as well.
Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson most recently.
You know, it's just a great sequence, and I love all the stuff with the dialogue as well between, you know, McClane and Powell, you know, talking about personal stuff and all that. I think it was important, you know, because it's important that...
Well, it reveals that McClane is his name.
Yeah.
And he says McClane, John McClane. He has that famous line that he says to him. And then he obviously then can piece it together with his wife. He realises that she is connected.
Yep.
He's got this pawn now that he can force him to bend to his will. There's all of that going on.
Yep.
So it adds an emotional stake and sort of baggage to the movie as well.
Exactly,
so it's all, again, really intelligently weaved in and crafted by the writers and Tierney. Stephen, obviously the finale, I mean, I've said balls to the wall action, high stakes, as you did say, swinging with fire hoses and whatnot. And then, I mean, again, also the feel, or no, that Argyle is down in the actual parking lot during all of this.
Yeah.
He's having a great time, he's drinking champagne, speaking to his partner or his girlfriend and whatnot. He gets thrust into action, he sees this field character coming out of a truck. He's trying to get ready for the getaway, and he's thrust into action, he crashes into it. Gives him a slap, knocks him out. He feels great about himself. He's really having the best day of his life. He's in a new job, and all of this is happening. He's at the centre of a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Well, to him, obviously it's not. It's just a good old heist. And then that obviously leads to McClane, his standoff with Gruber and Carol, and Lord knows, I think that guy that was working as the kid on security guard at the front desk.
Yeah.
There's another great line in there. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. Still the cowboy, all Americans are the same. This time John Wayne doesn't ride off into the sunset with Grace Kelly, no. And he says, that was Grace Cooper, asshole. And he says, oh yeah, what was that you said to me again? Yippee-ki-yay, asshole. And they're all laughing their heads off.
Mother.
Yeah.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother, yeah. It's a great, and it's an iconic line as well now, John. You know, it's been used so much, you know, and it's a line that people think about when they think about this film as well. The finale was great. You know, it was always going to be that sort of standoffish sort of dialogue heavy kind of thing, you know, try to see who's going to draw first type of thing. But it's interesting as well that they kept the Carol character alive, obviously, for the last sort of scene. That kind of gives Sergeant Powell some sort of hope for his career, and obviously his
growth as a human.
I mean, just to sort of kind of recover from what happened to him in the past. So it was important to keep him alive for that sort of sake as well. And it gave it another little sort of twist at the end as well.
He was like the main side character when you think about it as well, Stephen. With the main players. So for him to get a little bit of action at the end was probably fitting in a way. Yeah, exactly.
You know, obviously the demise of Gruber. Was
absolutely amazing.
It's such an iconic shot. I keep saying this. There's quite a few shots in this film that are quite iconic now. You know, that people, even if they've not seen the film, they know the shot. And you know, Alan Rickman performing this stunt, you know, where he has to be dropped off from a distance so they can get it. I think the sort of soft mats were all sort of blue screen, so they can obviously put the backdrop, you know, of the ground in there, you know, in post-production. But from what I gather, you know, the stunt coordinator says that after 3, you know, we'll drop you and you do it. I think he did it after 2 to get a more natural reaction. That's how you see a bit of shock in Alan Rickman's face when he's dropped, as
That's
you would
great.
if it did happen to you, So
I think he releases like it's like a bracelet or something like
Yeah.
that, and he just slips. It's just
I think it was the
amazing shot.
Rolex.
Yeah, was the Rolex.
I'm not sure. I think it was a
would have
Rolex.
been. Yeah, it was a Rolex. That
Yeah.
Rolex that Ellis gave, it all connects in.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. So he slips it. It's a beautiful shot of him falling. The fear in his face. He's been beat by this common cop, this exceptional thief, the man with classical education and whatnot. It's just a fitting demise for this
Yeah.
guy, really. He drops to the ground and just dies an absolute pauper's death. And then obviously the raging debate about this movie, Stephen, is it a Christmas movie, is it not a Christmas movie? Well, at the end we're getting borderline Christmas tunes
Yeah.
and all the paper falling, it's like snow. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's like a big family get together at the end, happily ever after, until Paul
Yeah.
shoots Carol incidentally.
To me, John, if you're asking me the question, is it a Christmas film? It's a film set around Christmas. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I know that I think maybe people within the actual crew, cast and crew, have come on and said, no, it is a Christmas film. That's fine, if that's what you're saying. That's just my opinion and how I feel about films, set at that time of year.
Well, it's not a traditional Christmas.
No, there is
Santa.
films out there, Home Alone, that's a
Yeah.
Christmas film, There's something about this where you've got Let It Snow at the end. You take that away and you take maybe the Christmas part away at the very beginning. There's no any other reference to Christmas other than those two things. But it does have that kind of chat about it, in the debate about whether or not it is or not. I think it's really just what people get out of it.
One, which is,
Gremlins, I think, was set around about Christmas as well. Funnily enough, I do regard that as a Christmas.
That's a well,
But again, it's just...
we need to do that.
I think it is really just your own sort of interpretation,
Yeah.
your own feeling. We've all got our favourites that we like to watch over the festive period.
Home Alone's
I
mine.
can watch this any time of year and it doesn't really bother me about the Christmas stuff in it, but I don't think we can end this review, John, without obviously talking about Richard Thornburg, the TV reporter, who obviously put McLean's family in jeopardy by, I think he was the one that actually revealed
done the report,
his name and stuff like that, played by William Atherton. Now, he's a great actor if you want that kind of character in your film. He played it so well in Ghostbusters. And in here, that lasting shot for me that I always burst out laughing at is obviously, Holly, played by Bonnie Bedelia, hooking him, and it's just the way he looks at the camera. He's looking for some. Did you get that?
All the way through, he's saying that. Did you get it? When the floor explodes.
He doesn't know where to look. It's just such a comedic moment,
Yeah, this is his big moment in the limelight, and he's been made to look like an absolute bitch, and he deserved it. You're right, Stephen. He was just a fame-hungry little shit who jeopardised obviously the McLeans and whatnot. Look, I mean, what else can you add other than before we start rounding it up? Technical aspects and whatnot. Willis's performance. I know you says you weren't a big fan of Bruce prior to this. To be fair, I mean, I can't even recall the first movie I seen Bruce in. It may have been The Sixth Sense. I don't even know. I'd imagine not. Probably prior to that.
Pulp Fiction, maybe?
Not in the 90s. I think I was quite late to the party with Pulp, obviously, which is strange because I watched Freddy Krueger and whatnot, but I didn't get to see Pulp Fiction. Strange family that I was brought up in, Stephen. But obviously, I mean, what did you make about Willis? Obviously, the primary protagonist in the movie, and he does it well. He's just something about him. He's an all-out action hero. He's got the physique. He's big. He's 6 foot. He's built an absolute monster. And he did. I'd imagine he did the practical, all the stunts and whatnot himself.
I would say he did majority of them, John. But there's also the smart ass element to him as well. That comes through, and it comes through so well. He's got that knack about him.
He's got hair.
Yeah.
I know it's all right.
Yeah, it is. It's a healthy head of hair at this point. But he is good at what he does. And I think he proved a lot of people wrong. He didn't look back after this film. This was the film that made him an action hero. He was able to sort of go side by side with the likes of Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I mean, they opened up a franchise, Planet Hollywood, for crying out loud. That's kind of what that propelled him to, and what he would do afterwards. But his role in this and his performance in this, more importantly, made this film because of his sort of smart, wise, cracking sort of banter between, obviously, Alan Rickman's character. And you can't forget that. But if you're talking about standout performances, it's got to be Alan Rickman for me for acting purposes.
He's the best actor.
He had the biggest quotable lines in there as well. He he had the presence as well without doing too much. Whereas obviously John McClane's doing all the sort of running about, crashing through glass, firing guns, C4 down elevator shafts, etc. The Hans character didn't have to do all that, you know, just his way he delivered his lines, just the way his posture, you know, the way he spoke to people, you know, this is all down to Alan Rickman. You know, that guy's going to be sadly missed.
Yes, Stephen, again, he's almost like the Joker to the Batman.
Yeah.
Different types of characters, they both go at things from different points of view. One's an all action hero, one's more cerebral, but he will do the nitty gritty things when it is necessary. But Stephen, obviously, before we round up this review, we can't not talk about technical stuff and just give our final thoughts on this movie as a whole. Obviously, the cinematographer, Jan de Bont, who revealed a very intriguing piece of information about this very talented chap. He went on to be a director in his own right after this, and he did a number of good movies, like of Twister and Speed.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing that this movie, its legacy, what better legacy can you have than some of the not side, because cinematographer's a big part of the movie. That's the visual aesthetic and craft and shots and whatnot. But what better legacy than some of the, I'm going to say lesser members of the crew going off to be directors in their own right. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And the cinematography was absolutely superb in this movie. It has to be in an action movie. If you don't nail that, then it's flat, it's shit. It's a bit banal.
Yeah, I think as well, John McTiernan as well. Just, you know, it was only, I think, maybe about a year or 2 years prior to that he did Predator, you know, and so he knew how to handle an action film.
Yeah.
You know, and Predator, as you recall, had a lot of humour in it as well. There was a lot of sort of dark humour in Predator. Mother. And there was a lot of banter between them as well. So you can see McTiernan's mark on Die Hard as well, you know, and I think just a great team that were pulled together to make this film, you know, out with obviously the cast, which we've talked about throughout this whole hour of this review, John. But yeah, I mean, it was just a great crew as well, you know, a great director, cinematographer, and obviously the score as well, you know, it plays a huge part in this as well.
Yeah, it's got a really good score. There's ominous moments in there. There's that ode to joy thing that goes through the whole movie, really. It's a sort of soundtrack to Gruber. Just a great score. Just, as you did say, just a perfectly crafted movie. I don't want to go over old ground, but the final thing I would add is that it's a bygone era of action movies. As I said previously, I'm going to go over it again.
Yeah.
It's like the classic action movie. There's layers to it. It's not just balls to the wall action, superficial popcorn flick. You've got that if you want it, but there is great characters under there. Some really good storytelling, and just technical aspects are magnificent, certainly for 1988. So I thoroughly loved it. It's a shame I didn't watch it earlier, but I've watched it now, and I'll be certainly watching it again, because just for Gruber alone, really.
Yeah, certainly.
Rickman's just the man, and you're right, he will be badly missed. A man of that standing, still young, dulcet tones alone, will be badly missed. Just a tour de force, that guy. But look, unless you've got anything to add, Stephen, that will round up our review for retro review, that is, for 1988's Die Hard. What is your thoughts on Die Hard? Have you seen it? Have you went 31 years of your life like me not seeing it? If you have, then you really should right that wrong and go and give it a watch just now, because like me, you will enjoy it, unless you're a weirdo, in which case you will hate it. What is your thoughts on this movie in general? If you've got anything to say, you can comment below and let us know down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you have enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you do, then you will see me tomorrow for MBE Movie News.